Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. It's 10:01. We're going to call to order the Board of Commissioners meeting for June 23rd, Tuesday. If you would please rise if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. At this time, we'll accept any public comment for items not appearing on today's agenda. Would there be anybody who would like to offer any public comment? Seeing no one here in the room, we're on our teleconference. We'll look for a motion to approve the minutes from the June 16th meeting of the Board of Commissioners.
Motion to approve the minutes from the June 16th Board of Commissioners meeting.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay. Moving into our COVID-19 planning, our planning and response section, we'll turn to our administrator, Margaret Gray, for a update on our county relief block grant. Good morning, Margaret.
Good morning, thank you. Last Wednesday, the county submitted its application to the Department of Community and Economic Development for the county relief block grant in the amount of $14.7 million. And on Sunday afternoon of this, 2 days ago, we received a contract from the Department of Community and Economic Development, which requires review and approval by the Board of Commissioners today. It is due back to DCED tomorrow. So this is all with an eye toward moving very quickly and enabling the Department of Community and Economic Development to release the funding to us prior to July 15th.
Excuse me. Has the solicitor had an opportunity to review it at this point?
Yes, the solicitor was sent this on Sunday evening, and I talked with her just a few minutes ago, and in large part, we're not really in a position to be able to change the language of the contract. There was nothing objectionable in this. She did express a need for us to quickly sit down and go through all of the compliance portions of this, as we would be doing anyway as we work out allocation memorandums of understanding with different organizations across the community and different entities. But yes, she has reviewed this document. It also requires the Board of Commissioners to adopt a resolution, which I believe you have in front of you, and I think we need to make some amendments to the agenda for you to be able to consider the contract and the Resolution 15 of 2020. And Resolution 15 of 2020 authorizes, it's a resolution of the County Commissioners authorizing application to the Department of Community and Economic Development for the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant Program. So those are the two pieces of business that need to be amended into the agenda and addressed by you this morning.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. So in our packet, we have it's a sheet like that, has some highlights on it, and it is essentially where we're going to be adding underneath COVID-19 planning and response an item that would be, two items actually, and this would be for the Resolution 15 of 2020,
Correct.
and this would be the authorization to of the filing, so it has to run with the contract. And then also the contract itself, which is, again, the 35-page document. I'll just note that, it was sent to us saying that we need to get it back by Wednesday, and so I just hope for the counties that don't meet on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesdays, that they're able to get this back. And that's luckily we meet on Tuesdays, so hopefully our counterparts across the state are able to get this back in a timely manner. But that being said, and this would be for the $14.6 million. And then we also have a discussion item we also wanted to add onto the agenda, and that would be under discussion items. And we have one already on CPACE, but we also would look to add that. So would there be a motion to add those three items onto the agenda today?
All right, so under COVID Planning and Response, Section A, I would like to add Item 1, Resolution 15 of 2020, authorizing the filling of a COVID-19 county relief block grant application for funding from DCED, and Part 2, contract with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania acting through DCED for the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant totaling $14,664,804. And then under discussion items, add item B, Center County's Youth Center job posting. And you got a copy of all this, right?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any final questions, comments on that? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, so with that, we then can move to the resolution and the contract. Anything else to add for those, Margaret?
No.
Okay. And again, the resolution that we were given, and that's just a front and back of a sheet of paper, was the draft of it was supplied by DCED, and we essentially just put in Center County. So it's something that they have approved and looked at. So would there be a motion to approve the resolution or adopt it?
Motion to adopt resolution number 15 of 2020, authorizing the Center County Commissioners' application to Pennsylvania DCED for the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant Program.
I will second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the resolution. Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay. And then for the contract. Anything else to add to the contract? Okay. All right.
I'm going to be working on the grant program this afternoon. Can I get a copy of that contract when it's available? Well,
You can-
email us something?
Okay, sure, but you can have my copy if you want it.
No, just email me the
Okay.
soft copy. I'll read through it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Do you have anything, Steve?
No.
Is there any further questions or comments on the contract? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the contract with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania through DCED for the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant. Grant funding will be $14,664,804 for costs incurred between March 1st and December 30th of this year.
I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and as we've been notified by DCED, we shall receive the funds no later than July 15th. So three and a half weeks, we should be receiving those funds. Any further questions or comments on the contract? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Okay. So at this time, we'll look for a motion to recess the Board of Commissioners meeting so we can move into a salary board meeting because part of the grant allows us to use administrative costs. And we've talked about the urgency and needing to get additional individual to work on that. So motion to recess the Board of Commissioners.
Motion to recess the Board of Commissioners meeting at 10:09.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. And we're going to call to order then at 10:09 the Salary Board. Controller Jason Moser, if you're comfortable joining us at the podium, that might be the best vantage point at this point. Thank you, Jason. Okay. Any public comment for the Salary Board? Seeing and hearing none, we'll look for a discussion on the personnel item. And Margaret, if you wanted to add anything about this position, or we can talk about it before we take action.
In front of you is a job description for a COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant Coordinator. The idea here is that there's a lot of work that needs to be done in a very short period of time. It was the expression of some of our board that this should be an opportunity to perhaps expand and allow the grant administrator to perhaps broaden out because we have many grants coming in, and specifically related to COVID-19, there are many different grants happening at the same time with different funding amounts for similar purposes, and it's really important that there not only be work specifically on the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant, but that we are tracking and paying attention to the other grants running parallel with it so that we do not do anything along the lines of duplicating an expenditure or inadvertently causing some sort of an audit exception that would be not known about because we've been on parallel paths. So the idea of coordination is really comes through in this. I don't know, that's about it. It is for a period of 12 months, perhaps longer if there would be funding available to support the position. and in front of you are all of the essential functions of the job.
Thank you, Margaret.
How will the position be funded from the end of the grant period until 1 year mark, which would be essentially June of next year?
So the one thing that I just, from my thoughts on this is, the last report that we need to submit to DCED for this grant fund is on February 1st of next year. And so the thinking would be that, or at this point, we do not have confirmation that the administrative funds need to be exhausted by then. They're saying that the funds must be expended during that time frame. But from an administrative standpoint, if they're requiring us to do things into 2021, can we carry over any of those funds over? If that's not the case, I think that there would be enough, and again, this would be, from my sense, we're still going to be having lingering effects of the pandemic coming into 2021. Whether or not there's additional funding or resources beyond that is unsure. So we would at least have it for 12 months, but that would be it. So if administrative funds are not allowable, then it would be general fund dollars that we'd be looking to supplant this with.
Yeah, my thought is, I would support this if it were at the end of the funding period. I don't think general fund dollars should be used for the next 5 months or 6 months. That's my gut feeling.
Okay.
I have no problem with the coordinator position, of course, but I think it should end with the end of the grant.
Okay. Okay, that's a fair point. Yeah.
I view it a little bit differently. Again, it'd be great if we can utilize those $200,000 of funds into the new year for the grant administration position. I'm wondering if this person, once COVID cools down a little bit, could potentially work with other grants that are available. Because I know at the county level, we see grants every other week or so from a broad variety of different agencies, nonprofits, internal county departments. Perhaps there's some additional grants we could be going after. Although I'm not sure I would want to support this with general fund dollars for a full 6 months after the expiration of the COVID-19 administrative funds. So I don't know if we can maybe say up to 6 months or something like that.
Well, the other part of it is, I don't think there can be any commingling. This person is going to be receiving compensation from the $200,000.
Oh, right, during the COVID period, yes.
So during that period, I think that their focus needs to be specifically on the block grant funds. I would suggest that at the end or toward the end of that period, if it seems that we need to add the extra months or see other value or see other opportunities, because at that point we're going to have to restructure their job description anyways to include whatever other duties we would assign. That's just my thought.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And again, this was on the table for discussion for that. One of the other things is we do have the community development block grant that was passed for COVID relief, which allows up to 18% of administrative costs. And if we have about 160,000, there's going to be another amount of about 160,000. So that would be a good amount of administrative costs that could be potentially rolled into this position at a later date if they were still working on. We still needed COVID-19 response, but again, we could amend this so that it's not it is until the, I guess, allowable grant period, because we still don't know if we can carry over any of the administrative costs.
Well, if we have to take it out a month to finish up the paperwork, I get that.
Sure.
And we can allow for that later. I just don't want to go deep into 2021 paying for it with general fund dollars. That would be my only.
I think they're both fair points, and I was going to bring up Mark talking about with additional grants for COVID-19, while the block grant is, this person was designed to be specific to the block grant. Perhaps, I don't know if that language can be changed, and I know we're talking about just the creation of the position right now for the salary board, but to a certain percentage from the block grant and from the other, or from other grants, if there's other ones running parallel, or to later that you might be able to adjust. To Steve's point that, I think with other grants, there's opportunities to continue funding this position as well, to Mark's point too. So I don't know that it needs to be general fund dollars, that there's funding within grants specifically for these types of things, so.
So, sounds like we're in agreement, thank you, Jason. Sounds like we're in agreement in terms of how this is going to be funded, it would be until, it would be funded until an allowable, I guess, if it's either December 30th or, I mean, we can work on that later, but essentially it would be, we'd have, we wouldn't be using general fund dollars coming into 2021, I think is what we're in agreement with. And as we move forward with the grant allocation and administration, we can always discuss that and look at that, what that will look like. So in terms of applicants knowing, would we want to say that it's at least funded through the end of the year?
Yeah.
We'd say that?
Oh,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay.
And possibly longer, but we.
One other point I think it needs to be made, the $200,000 is not just for this coordinator job.
That's correct. That's correct.
Jason, your office is going to be impacted by this conversation, and I think those costs need to be offset. Our office through the finance department is going to be impacted, and I don't even know who else. Probably Ray, you're going to be impacted by the administration of these grants. I mean, I'm sure you will be brought into the fold somehow. So, our planning office, finance, controller, and whoever, probably emergency management. There's probably going to be a few separate organizations within Center County government that are going to have to be part of this coordinated effort. So I think I don't think we're going to have any problem burning up the $200,000 before it's all said and done. There's going to be a lot of work and a lot of minding of where that money goes, and auditing and all the other efforts. And one other question before was thinking about this last night. Will this be this $14 million is part of the whole county single audit at some point?
Correct.
And so that will require, a whole lot of different eyes on, because this is a federal grant of much bigger proportion than anything we've ever dealt with before.
Correct, yeah. It will be part of the single audit for the county next year.
So
Yeah.
I think we need to account for that into next year's. Part of that $200,000 needs to pay for its expenses for that audit
Yeah,
process.
that's the thing, and again, it's a great point, Commissioner Dershowitz. The clarity we need from the state and from the Treasury would be, if we're going to be doing a single audit in 2021 mid-year, but you're saying we can only use the funds up until December 30th, how do we get those administrative costs carried over? So,
I think we have to allocate it.
yeah, we're still, again, this is moving at a more rapid pace than we typically do things, but but yeah, there's still questions to be answered.
Jason in the controller's office, I think, needs to be one of the lead dogs to work with Margaret on making sure that this whole thing is done according to oil.
Sure, I think when we identify the individual and the person that's going to be in this role, they're going to be talking a lot with Jason. There's specific guidelines that the Treasury guidelines give out, that the DCD called out in their guidelines, where they have to follow certain auditing guidelines. So absolutely, they'll be in close contact.
Oh, I forgot one other thing. I think we're going to need
Yeah.
additional legal counsel for this, beyond just the county solicitor. I think there needs to be somebody available for the grant administrator and for your office to make sure that, since these are untested waters, that we don't venture into areas that will put us into a liability in the future. But that's my thoughts as we move forward.
Any thoughts on that? Any comments?
I'm not sure if we'll need an additional person, but I think we're definitely going to be spending more than what's in the budget, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So at some point, we're going to have to make accounting for that.
I would agree. The state has said that they're on call if need be. I know we have federal legislators who are probably happy to get us guidance on this. Treasury has an FAQ that's pretty thorough in terms of the can and can-nots of how we can spend this, but we don't want to stymie the position where we have to, get legal help every time. But I appreciate what you're saying. Measuring twice in this matter is probably a good thing, because we don't want any clawbacks or anything like that. So absolutely, I think that is something that we're looking at. So, okay. So just to review, again, this is salary board, so what we're talking about is creating the actual position. And on the agenda, we have it as, with some blanks in there. Again, we knew that we needed it on Friday, so we put some placeholders in. And then Margaret, any recommendations in terms of the salary grades and some of the budget impacts?
Our HR office did some benchmarking with other counties. There are approximately 20, 21 counties across the Commonwealth that have some sort of grant administrator coordinator position. And we're looking at those and our own salary grades. We're suggesting a salary grade of S55, which would be in the range of $50,793 through $83,366 at the top end. So the first step of that salary grade would be $50,793.
And that was did you say the lower end? I'm sorry.
The first step would be $50,793. Top of the range would be $83,366.
I think that gives a good range, depending on the person we get. So that's a good starting position. Okay. And again, that would be for a full year. But again, if we do just and this is just salary, but if we have benefits on top of that, it'll certainly change. So we don't know the budget impact at this point, but it could be anywhere between half of those numbers in addition to all the benefits that would be included as well. So we're looking at about maybe upwards of 50,000 potentially in that ballpark, maybe even higher. So just to give everybody a sense that we still would have about 150,000 of that grant portion left, administrative costs. So any further discussion on creating the position for the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant Coordinator? Any thoughts, question?
One last thing is, because it is of a limited duration, should this be termed a term employee, or, with full understanding that it is not a permanent position? How do we approach that from an HR's perspective? Do you know, Jason, how?
I don't know that
Put you
off.
on the spot.
Yeah, no. I certainly wouldn't want to speak for Kristen on this one. I don't know offhand. I don't know that we would want to call it a temporary employee at the outset, just because we don't know what's going to happen closer to the end of the year and that sort of thing. I don't know that we want to put any position on it, but I think as it's posted, if we put that in language in there that it's funded through December, whatever we agree to, December 30th, and then, with potential for refunding or something.
Candidates need to know that this is for a certain duration of time position with the possibility of extension based on funding and decision by the Board of Commissioners. But I think we have to, that has to be put forward.
My only heartburn is at the end of the term, this person would be eligible for unemployment benefits, which I struggle with. If it's not specifically listed as I guess as long as it's not I guess the only way to get around it would be a contract employee, but a 1099 versus a W-2.
That could be a consideration as well, to go on a contract basis, make it a 6-month or a 1-year contract or whatever the term is, and then reevaluate. That's another option, I suppose.
That's a fair point about the unemployment, them being eligible. I didn't think about that through that lens. It's a point. I think one of the things that we have done in the past was for our housing coordinator position, when we created that position with the block grant, we put in the job description that this was only going to be if there was availability of funds that continue. And so luckily we've been able to transition that into the adult services office and fund that in certain ways. I think the focus with this would be getting somebody in as quickly as possible. But again, I think there's going to be a need for them. And if they're able to administer this in a way, I think the point about there being a specific grant coordinator and that could maybe pay for itself. But
So you were saying that our research indicates that about upwards of 20 of Pennsylvania counties have some sort of position called grant coordinator?
Some sort of position, yes, that's correct. I have it here, the actual names of them, but they
Oh, sure.
sometimes are for specific purposes. not necessarily overarching across all of their different departments such as this. Some of them are, but yes, so in one way, shape, or another, about 21 counties have.
Yeah, I'll say too, I reached out to other controllers across the state, and they have, it's a variety. Some are looking at the block grant now at how they're going to address it. Some have I mean, obviously we all know how fast the timeline is on this, so some of them are still reviewing what they're even going to do if they're going to create a position. Larger counties tend to seem to already have somebody that is doing grant work. And then there's a few counties that were using outside consultants to manage the grant for them. So it's really across the board right now, and especially with the COVID grant, the block grant. I think everybody's in this position right now, deciding and trying to figure out how they're going to approach and manage the size of this grant. So it's really across the board.
You may need to at some point in time retitle the position if it goes beyond a
Right.
COVID-19 world, because the title of this would no longer be appropriate. So.
I mean, at this point, it's sort of putting a beacon out there saying, we're looking for somebody to come assist us to, administer this, help allocate it, work with us to find the best needs for it. But I mean, we can, if we wanted to add something in terms of having it be I think the big thing is, from my standpoint, is if we have December 20th, or December 30th, 2020, as knowing that that's really the end point, unless there's something else that comes about in terms of an extension of the guidelines. But if they know that, I think that's the key thing that would allow them to come in and do what they need to do.
I think the last paperwork has to be in January, the end of January, correct? That's when the last audit.
February 1st. Yeah, February 1st.
For that part now, if we need to start getting into single audit and that sort of thing, that's September of next year. So.
It's already been extended past December.
Okay. All right. So would there be a motion to approve the creation of the position?
Motion to approve the creation of the full-time COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant Coordinator.
Please. Sorry.
There is language in here that
Yes.
talks about the position funded for 1 year using the administrative funds. Do you want to make an amendment to that?
So that would occur on the commissioner's agenda, yes.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this would just be simply to create the position.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's fine. No, we will not forget that. Let's not forget
We
that.
set the salary. Do we have to set the salary at the?
So do I need to amend the
prescribed
motion
amount?
to set the salary at grade S55?
Yeah, if you're, yeah.
Including a salary grade of S55, effective June 23rd.
All right, I will second the motion.
Okay, motion to create the position at salary grade S55 for the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant Coordinator. Any further discussion, questions on the creation of the position? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Okay. Anything else to come before the salary board? There be a motion to adjourn the salary board.
Motion to adjourn the salary board.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. We're going to call out of a recess the Board of Commissioners, and we're going to jump back to under personnel. So this would be to approve the job description. So we had some conversation at our salary board meeting, and so to go to Margaret's point, we would want to change, this position is funded until December 30th, 2020, using allowable CRBG administrative funds. And again, we still have the position may be extended based upon that due to the COVID-19 pandemic or additional funding streams. So are we comfortable with that? Any other changes, comments to that? Okay. And again, just to highlight some of the big points, responsible for the development, allocation, oversight, making sure it's adhering to the grants. They're in alignment with Treasury and DC. We're obviously going to have to revise the budget at certain points, internal procedures if they need to do so. Again, working with the Controller's Office, the Commissioner's Office, all the documents, all the preparation, and again, all the required reports. And so we're going to be holding a lot more public town hall meetings or virtual meetings nowadays to get impact or feedback on the impact of these funds, so that person also would be heavily involved in that. So again, this will be posted on the county's website, and we would look for people to apply, and we're encouraging people to do so and be a part of our team here in the county to, again, plan and respond for COVID-19. So
One last
yes.
question.
Yeah, please, yeah.
The direct report, it will be, Margaret will be the direct report for this position.
That is correct, yes, yes,
We're working closely, of course, with the controller and finance.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
at the bottom of page 2, Steve.
Okay, yeah, I didn't have a chance to.
Yeah, I remember reading it somewhere.
Absolutely, yep.
It receives instruction, supervision
Okay.
from the county administrator.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Any final discussion on the approving the job description? All right, hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the job description for the position of COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant Coordinator effective June 23rd, with the amendment of the position being funded until December 30th using allowable CRBG administrative funds.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on this question? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay. Next would be to approve the personnel requisition. And so again, this is salary grade S55. Okay. Would there be a motion?
Motion to approve the personnel requisition for the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant Coordinator at salary grade S55 effective June 23rd.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on it? We typically do NACO, CCAP, all the big ones in terms of getting relevant county experience, but also locally here as well. We may be able to tap into some local knowledge and experience as well. Yes?
We use
Yeah.
some of our local media sources for advertising as well. I think
Absolutely, yes.
we need to get off really fast back.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. And in terms of the interviews, the thing is we can do virtual later this week. I think we're going to get a lot of applicants coming in fairly quickly, so I'm going to be available weekends, weeknights, whatever we need to do to get somebody slotted in there. So I would agree. I think we're going to have a lot of applicants, but local media sources, absolutely, we'd like to use them as well. So, okay. Hearing no further discussion, we had a motion and a second for the personnel requisition. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay. Okay. Margaret will have look for a furlough update.
Yeah, just a brief update of numbers for you so that you know where we stand with our furloughs. County employees, as you recall, we started with 100 positions, 80 employees, 20 funded vacancies. And before the action that you're going to be asked to consider below here, we are at 19 full-time employees remain on furlough, 14 part-time employees remain, and we have 18 funded vacancies. So we've gone from 80 on furlough initially, either full or part-time status, to 36 as of right now. And as you know, that is being driven by the amount of work. There's been some back and forth because some of our department heads have said to us, I don't have work right now, I will later. So there's actually been some people and some suggestions that have been made, and we've gone back and forth, as you are well aware. But those are our numbers right now. And there's one item here this morning from the Recorder of Deeds asking for the reconsideration and reinstatement of Nancy Stover, Second Deputy Recorder of Deeds, from full-time furlough to regular full-time status effective June 22nd. This was a situation that we had worked out with the Recorder of Deeds a couple of weeks ago for her to remain on furlough for that period of time. So that's what it's looking like right now.
Thank you, Margaret. So this would be back to Monday, yesterday, we'd be reinstating her.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Would there be a motion?
Motion to approve the reinstatement of Nancy Stover, Second Deputy Recorder of Deeds, from full-time furlough to regular full-time status effective yesterday.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, thank you very much, Margaret. Okay, we're going to jump into a presentation. We appreciate your patience, Cindy. Thank you. We're going to hear our annual CNET presentation from the Executive Director of CNET, Cindy Hahn. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, it's that time of year again. I placed at your seats the 2019 annual report and a handout that I'll also go over shortly regarding the county's use of CNET services in 2019 and in the last 5 years. I'd like to first just go over some highlights of 2019. First of all, I want to recognize that County Administrator Margaret Gray is the county's representative to the CNET Board of Directors, and we thank her for taking on this assignment in service to both the county and to CNET. So last year, our little staff and our interns produced 478 programs in the course of the 1 year. CNET's strategic plan that was adopted and began in 2017 was completed. 2019 was the third and the final year of that strategic plan. So the Board of Directors will be looking to move forward with either a whole new plan or at least an update to the strategic plan this year. In January of 2019, we welcomed the Center Region Parks and Recreation Authority as a new member. And at the end of 2019, UAJA, the University Area Joint Authority, voted to become a member, and so their meetings began to be covered in January of 2020. So we've now added 3 authorities as new members in the last 3 years. Probably most importantly, our franchise agreement with Comcast was finally approved. Negotiations went on for 2.5 to 3 years between Comcast and the CAC, which is the Center Area Cable Consortium. That consortium is made up of the 6 municipalities of the Center Region, along with Bellefonte Borough and Benner Township. And each of those municipalities has a representative on the CAC, and they entered into negotiations with Comcast. Some of the things that came out of those negotiations, now that the franchise is final, perhaps most importantly, the franchise maintained that all of those municipalities will receive 5% of Comcast gross revenue within their municipality going forward. So that was very important that we maintain that at 5%. In addition, the cable subscribers within those municipalities will see on their cable bill a 22-cent PEG fee. Now, PEG stands for Public Educational and Government, so they'll see it as a PEG fee. That is money that is forwarded to CNET for our capital purchases over the next 10 years. So that is actually forwarded to us, but comes from the subscribers to the Comcast cable system. Thirdly, there are allowances for additional remote origination points, which are live connections like you have here in this room. And those remote origination points will be paid for 50% by CNET and 50% by Comcast. And finally, if you're a Comcast subscriber, you'll notice that on your digital guide, you'll actually see the program that is airing on the CNET channels at that time. For example, Center County Board of Commissioners. Most PEG stations across the country do not have access to that. Access to the digital guide is restricted, and they are not allowed to do that. We do. So our continued access to that digital guide so that viewers can actually see the program that is airing continues in this franchise. So those are probably the 4 highlights of the franchise. Looking at the handout that I gave you, the county sponsored 63 programs in 2019. Of course, the vast majority are the Board of Commissioners meetings, but there were 16 other programs, 12 of which were for nonprofit organizations in the county. So we thank you for your support of the various nonprofits that are able to have their programming covered because of your sponsorship. In addition, there were 5 bulletin board messages, and we value a message as 1/10 of a program, so that accounts for just another half of a program. So 63.5 is sort of the grand total of your sponsorship in 2019. So if you look at 2019, the county sponsored just about 12.5% of all of the programming by all of our members, And that amount in 2018, that figure was 13.2. So it dropped a little bit in 2019. The second page just has a couple graphs for you. The graph at the top shows the last 5 years and the number of programs that you have sponsored over those last 5 years. In the period of 2015 to 2019, you sponsored just 13.26%. That's a little up. That's a little bit higher than the previous 5-year period. And the second graph shows you all of our members over that 5-year period of time. And the county is now solidly in second place behind the State College Borough in terms of the level of your sponsorship. Our funding formula, as I'm sure you know, is based on the 5-year period of time, rolling average, so years come in and years drop out. And that 5-year period of usage is what determines your financial contribution in the following year. So those years between 2015 and 2019 determine your dues to CNET in 2021. Finally, on the last page, just a reminder of where and how to watch us, because the options are ever increasing. Of course, on our Channel 7, the commissioners' meetings are televised live and follow a re-cablecast schedule of Friday at noon, Friday at 7 p.m., and Sunday at 2. Online, the programs are available on demand they remain there a minimum of 12 months. And of course, the online programs are chaptered by agenda item. And on YouTube, the Board of Commissioners meetings are live and then remain there on our YouTube channel, which is CNET Center County. Our programs are also available on Roku, either the set-top box or the streaming stick. And most recently, about a month ago, we became available on Apple TV. So for people in the county that have an Apple TV box, not a cell phone, but an Apple TV box, they simply need to search in the App Store for CNET, and they can watch it on Apple TV. In terms of going forward, in addition to rewriting the strategic plan, or at least updating it, we're also always looking for ways to increase the ways in which people can watch us. So another option that's available to us is Amazon Fire, and we'll probably be looking at perhaps doing that in 2021. Finally, the very last page of your handout gives you some online viewing data. The first box is your meetings on cnet1.org, and I've given you both the average and the median number of hits for both 2019, all of 2019, and for the first 4 months of 2020. So you can see the average went up quite a bit to 2020. The median really didn't change that much. So I think you had some meetings earlier in 2020 that were of particular interest to people. And so some of the meetings really were quite a lot of hits. And then I also gave you that data for YouTube, for your meetings that are televised on YouTube for both 19 and 20. So I threw a lot of data at you. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Cindy. And we would be remiss if we did also mention that you were very helpful with doing some PSAs, and Stephanie
Oh, yes.
in particular, for educating individuals about how to do vote by mail, how to find their precinct, how to access our website for elections, and they were produced extraordinarily well, great quality, and we were able to share a few of them as we led up to the primary election, and we'll be looking to maybe partner with you as we go into the fall as well. But those were very helpful on social media and helping to, again, get the vote out and have people participate in civics here. So we appreciated that partnership as well.
Thank you. That was really all Stephanie. She is our operations manager and produced those beginning to end, and very, very quickly, too, actually.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
We were all impressed with that.
But covers all our meetings.
She does. I did a little bit of math. I think we're up into like the 700 meetings that she's done, something like that, because I believe she's been covering the commissioner since 2004. I could be wrong. It could be 2003, but a long, long time. So.
Wow, that's great. Wow.
She knows a lot about us.
She does.
That's right, yes, absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Thanks, Stephanie.
But thank you, Cindy, for the
Certainly.
presentation. We're proud to be a member of CNET, and we're equally proud to have Margaret as our representative there on the CNET board, so we thank her for her time and diligence there as well, so. Okay, all
Okay,
right,
thank you so
Cindy.
much.
Thank you. Continuing with our contracts, we have one for our Criminal Justice Planning Office. Margaret, will you be covering that one as well? Okay.
So this is a contract renewal with Tracy Small. You all know Tracy, an independent contractor who serves in the capacity of our Crisis Intervention Team Coordinator. The contract total is $32,452, which is funded as follows: state $11,562, county $506, and local contributions $20,384 for the period of July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2021. This is, of course, as you know, contract renewal and a very important service that we provide throughout the region for training for our public service folks.
All right, thank you, Margaret. Any questions, comments on this?
No.
Okay. Would there be a motion?
Motion to add the contract renewal with Tracy Small to next week's consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Okay. Norm, good morning. Thank you for your patience. We're going to turn it over to you for a discussion on an MCP contract.
Good morning. This contract will engage consultant mission-critical partners to implement CAD to CAD between our 911 center and Clearfield County. CAD to CAD will improve communications abilities between the two centers, which will end result will be better response time for the residents of both Clearfield and Center County. On a normal day, we deal with Clearfield County multiple times, many times actually during the day. This will allow the dispatcher to click a button activating the incident on the dispatcher screen in the other 911 center, and then all notes and details pertaining to the incident will transfer over. Then each center can continuously update that incident from both ends. MCP will manage the implementation with Clearfield County, the Northwest Regional CAD Group, multiple vendors involved, along with handling the network connections needed for implementation.
Great, thank you, Norm. Any questions, comments on this?
So, Norm, I remember at one point we had some rafters on the west branch of the Susquehanna stranded right in the middle of the river. I'm assuming this will be very helpful in those types of situations.
That'll be helpful in those situations, and like I said, every day we deal with calls that need resources from both counties. They're our busiest county that we share resources with, so this will be extremely helpful.
Thank you, Norm. Any questions, further questions? All right, hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to add the proposal from Mission Critical Partners to next week's consent agenda.
Second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Norm.
There'll
Appreciate
be
it.
some additional notes
Oh,
from
sure.
the solicitor that needs to be addressed before then, so.
Okay, all right, sounds good. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
We have a human services item as well. We'll turn it back to Margaret.
Yes, this is a non-cost item from our Adult Services Office. It's a contract renewal with the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture for the State Food Purchase Program, SFPP. It's for the period of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th of 2025. And again, it is a contract renewal and just outlines our cooperative agreement with that state agency.
Okay. Thank you, Margaret. Give you a motion.
Motion to add the contract renewal with the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture to next week's consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you, Margaret. All right, we have a grant section here. We're going to go into planning. Ray, would you be covering this, or would Margaret? Margaret? Okay. All right.
So normally it would be Ray, and this item involves the RAFP for Titan Park, and this portion of the project went directly to our solicitor, Betsy Dupuy. It didn't come to us, and so Betsy has been reviewing this document with the attorneys for Navitas, and what you're being asked to consider is approving the assignment of cooperation agreement between Navitas and Center First for securing a line of credit, which is a contingency of the Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program. This agreement is given to secure payment of the indebtedness and to performance of any and all obligations of Navitas LLC under the promissory note, this assignment, and the related documents. Would ask for your, today, your not approval, but moving this to next week's consent agenda. As I mentioned, our solicitor has been in discussion with the attorneys for Navitas, and they are, this portion of the process is fine. There are a couple of loose ends that need to be resolved over this week, and we'd like to make sure that we have the time to come back to you next week on consent and let you know that that's taken care of. But basically, you're acknowledging the assignment. It does not commit the county. It acknowledges the assignment between the parties.
Okay, so we're really not, it's not us, it's just, we're basically saying it exists, it's going to be part of this RACP process. Okay,
Acknowledge this
okay,
between and among those parties.
okay. Thank you, Margaret. Any questions, comments on this?
Remember, isn't Center First Bank, it's a newer bank, and it's on North Atherton?
Yes, yeah.
I think we attended their grand opening.
This is exactly similar to what you were just asked to consider for the RACP project for the Grange. That same situation where it's an acknowledgement of the assignment, but not committing to you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we look then for a motion to add it to next week's consent agenda.
Motion to add the assignment of the cooperation agreement between Navitas LLC and Center First Bank to next week's consent agenda.
Been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, thank you, Margaret. We have today's consent agenda. We have 3 items on it. Would there be a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve today's consent agenda.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Okay, we have no letters of support today, but we will go to Margaret for an administrator's report.
The note on the agenda, the item under administrative report is Resolution 14 of 2020. You approved Resolution 14 of 2020 at last week's Board of Commissioners meeting. It is not a necessary resolution. It was requested by our adult services offices for the housing grant that was submitted last week, the PHFA, I believe. So it, just for our records and our books, we need to remove Resolution 14 of 2020. It probably requires a motion and a vote by you all to do so, I would think.
So basically, we approve the resolution that doesn't exist.
That is not necessary.
Okay, okay. Your recommendation would be we just vote to cancel it? Okay. So you'd like a motion to just cancel the approval of the resolution? How do we cancel something that doesn't exist?
This
Well, no, it didn't.
appeared on the agenda. I can't really speak to it any further than that.
I know. Could we acknowledge that it is not needed for approval?
It could remain on the books.
Okay.
So, but you just need to know it's not necessary. We did not submit it.
Okay.
It was not required.
Okay, so why don't we leave it at that? Just that
Okay.
it was approved but doesn't need to be approved, so it's out there. Okay, all right, okay. Thank you for reporting that, Margaret. Okay. Discussion item. Ray, we'll turn it over to you. CPACE, we thank you for being here and look forward to an update.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Margaret. I was here back in November of last year to give an introductory presentation on the CPACE program in Pennsylvania. Thereafter, I think around March 10th, they came back to the Commissioners, gave a few discussion points on progress with the law and with the program in the state, and COVID-19 hit everyone, and we were supposed to schedule a public informational meeting with our municipalities on March 26th. We canceled that and moved it ahead and had a virtual meeting scheduled for May 26th through a WebEx platform. We were sponsored by the Sustainable Energy Fund through that platform. And we also had Pam Adams from the Center Region Planning Agency participate in that presentation. We had 16 participants sign up for the program. all the municipalities in Center County received notice for this presentation on what the purpose of the act is, the definition of what clean energy projects are, who would be eligible under this program, and what responsibilities the county has versus property owners. We'd also went through what the program administrator should do under the program to assist the county. Pam Adams shared in this presentation, and she gave an overview of the development of their climate action plan in the Center region and how CPACE can make their communities resilient with the use of CPACE funding due to sheltering in place during power outages, reduction in operational costs, reduced infrastructure costs, and reduced emissions. On June 8th, the chair of the Public Services and Environmental Committee of Center Region Council of Governments sent a support letter to the commissioners, as you know, and just basically an excerpt from that letter. CPACE funding will be instrumental as one of the funding sources for commercial property owners to use for energy efficiency and renewable energy projects that are needed for the Center region to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and increase resiliency in the community. We've had other inquiries on where the commissioners stand with this, and we've indicated that we're moving forward with getting this information out to our municipalities through this previous presentation. So what's left? What can the county do to proceed with CPACE? Number one, the Act 30 under Section 4303, subsection 2 indicates that if a county intends to establish a program, that we must notify all the municipalities prior to the adoption of a resolution. There is no real time frame in the legislation between notification and resolution. We could have our county solicitor looking at that further, but I did not see any indication of any time frame for that. Under a resolution, it's not done by ordinance. Initially, when legislation first came out, there was an option of ordinance or resolution, but it's really come down to passing a resolution to initiate the program. This would establish whether you're doing it at a district level or at a countywide basis. It would designate an administrator within the resolution as far as application process and education about the program, and also authorize the chair or vice chair or designee to execute certain documents. A statement of lien and levy is an agreement between the capital provider, property owner, of the county. So anytime a property owner comes forward with one of these loans, one of these lien and levy agreements would be provided for the county to execute. So those are the items that would be remaining to move forward with that program.
Okay, thank you, Ray. So this was one of the things that, due to the pandemic, we needed to shift focus from, but now we're returning to it. And I think one of the incentives that we're trying to put out there about this program would be, as we start to reopen the economy and we see construction resume and we see people wanting to invest and continue to invest in our county, this is another option that would allow them to invest. And so while we did receive an update from Ray, I think that it is time that we would move forward with some sort of resolution and move forward on the project. So I'd be very supportive of having at a future meeting basically a resolution come forward. We can notify the municipalities, go from there. It's nothing, it doesn't cost us anything from our standpoint. In addition, we have the administrator of the fund, if that would be the Sustainable Energy Fund or whomever we would designate. They would take care of most of the administrative portions of it. And our tax assessment office has been saying that it would not have any additional issues from their standpoint. So I don't see any reason why we wouldn't want to do it. And again, I think it gives individuals or I should say businesses more opportunities to invest and reinvest here in Center County. So I would be supportive of that. And again, it could be at our earliest convenience. But I think a lot of the draft resolutions have been already created by entities in the county. So I don't see anything holding us back. And again, I think it'd be a great way for people to continue to reinvest in the county. But I'll leave it there. Any other comments, questions for Ray, thoughts for that? Okay.
We've been working on this for, I think, well over a year now. It's a great program. It allows property owners to invest in clean energy for their properties, makes it a lot easier to run. There's virtually no cost to the county. And from what we've seen, there's quite a bit of support for this out in the community. So, yeah, I think we should move forward soon with the resolution.
This is just for commercial property.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Yes, just
Yes,
commercial.
I was just going to clarify that. It's still commercial, industrial, agriculture, and nonprofit. Residential and multifamily are excluded still.
Other states have included those, but Pennsylvania is just commercial. Yep, yep, yep. So, yeah, your convenience, Ray, if you'd be willing to bring that back, and we can run that through the agenda process, but we'd like to see that in the next few weeks, so.
Okay.
Okay? All right.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. Any questions for Ray on that? Okay. All right, thank you. Thanks, Ray. Appreciate it. Commissioner Higgins, the check run.
Sure, fairly small check run, $409,922.28. For some reason, the paperwork stacks a bit bigger than usual. The check of the week is to Leather Lumber Company for $12,455. I'm assuming that's probably involved in one of our construction projects, perhaps at the courthouse, but happy to see us purchasing from a local company. I believe they're headquartered over in Clearfield County, just next door. In fact, we talked about Clearfield County earlier. So would like to make a motion to approve the check run dated June 19th.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. I would say, if I was a betting person, I would say that it's because we're paying our poll workers. That'd be my guess on why the stack is large. That'd be my guess. So we again want to recognize all. Oh, Jason's nodding his head. There we
Yeah.
go. They probably. So we thank them all again for all the work. So moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the check run? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion is carried.
We do
Okay.
have one other discussion item before we venture too far away now.
Oh, yes, you are absolutely correct, Commissioner. Thank you. Yes.
Can we handle that one?
Yeah, please, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
We've been contacted by Dana Droll from the Central County's Youth Detention Center about using our website to advertise for a youth counselor position or positions. It's really been a struggle to hire really good quality people, and this would be an opportunity to expand through the 5-county network that uses the facility to advertise for that position. So I would suggest that we consider allowing them to advertise on our county website, if that's not objectionable to anyone else.
And what is the position? What is the position?
It's just youth counselor. It's basically they're the folks that do the hands-on work with the children on a day-to-day basis.
Is it, my only thing would be, would it be in conflict with any other position we hire here at the county in terms of, are we taking away good applicants from our own? That would be my only thought.
I really don't think so.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
more of it's a detention center, so I don't think we have any positions that really conflict with that.
Okay.
But it's very important that our youth and the youth of our region have the best quality counselors available. So
Absolutely. I'm just thinking about precedent in terms of having other entities.
competing against each
Yeah, completely. That's my only thing. I think it might be warranted in this position, given everything that's going on. Yeah.
If there's no conflict, and it is a multi-county joinder, so we are one of the members, and been a member for a long time, and it's right here in Center County, so.
And they work very closely with our probation and children and youth folks. So it is a very, very necessary facility in our community.
Absolutely. Okay. I think we're all in agreement then. We're okay with it. So thanks for bringing it before us. Appreciate it. Yep, absolutely. You bet. Okay. And then voter registration report today. Any? Okay.
Well, actually, this is going to be the first one from the primary on June 2nd. So
Okay.
my glasses don't fog up on me. We have a total of 108,973 registered voters in Center County. That's 46,237 Democratic registrants, 148 Green Party, 668 Libertarian, and 14,455 no affiliation. We also have 42,835 Republican registrants, which leaves all the minor party and all other registrants at 4,630. That's down 177 from last report, which was a ways back, but I would also like to recognize the American Party. The American Party here in Center County has 2 registrants, and we appreciate them making up the part of the 4,630 of the all other parties. And we look forward for them to be able to cast their ballots in the fall. We have the Precinct Report, which I chose precinct number 73 this week, which votes at the First Church of Christ in Phillipsburg. They were in the June 2nd primary. This would be the first recognition of new voters. The registered voters in that precinct were 231. Ballots cast were 98, which led a voter turnout of 42.42%. And to thank the folks that get it done, Deborah Thompson is the judge of election. The minority inspector is Carolyn Meckes. The majority inspector is Brenda Kinjora. And the clerks are Julia Hallam and Shirley Coleman. And again, we want to thank the First Church of Christ in Phillipsburg for allowing us to use their facility, and look forward to seeing you again in November. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, and also just as I think it's noteworthy, since we're talking about accomplishments here and good things, I guess State Representative Kerry Benninghoff was just elected by his peers in the state legislature to the position of majority leader in the state house, which leads Center County and my hometown of Bellefonte to some proud moments, because now we have the Senate majority leader and the House majority leader from the town of Bellefonte, which really does allow Center County and Bellefonte to have some clout in Harrisburg. So hopefully we can use that to our advantage somewhere down the road here at some point. But just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. So
Absolutely. No, to echo the congratulations from Commissioner Dersham. It is. So congratulations to Kerry. He served for nearly 24 years, or this is his 24th year in office. So congratulations, Kerry. Look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you got to start as a politician in Center County government.
he was a
That's right.
coroner here.
That's right.
So
Absolutely.
not a controller, a coroner.
So thank you, Commissioner. Okay, and so we do want to recognize that on Friday, July 3rd, we will be closed as a county government in observation of Independence Day. So that's coming up soon. Any executive sessions to report, Margaret? No? Okay. Okay, we will be having on Thursday, just to acknowledge this, a Prison Board of Inspectors meeting at 8 a.m. on Thursday, Finance at 9 a.m., Commissioners meeting at 10 a.m., and a Retirement Board at 11. They all will be virtual, and they will be published on our county website for the public to join in for each of those meetings. We have no bid proposals or election announcements. Gary, the floor is yours.
Steve, does the detention center have a counselor position?
Yes. Oh, yeah. These are the routine positions of individuals who work with the children on a day-to-day basis. So they're always looking for positions to be filled as people come and go. But yes, it's an ongoing struggle to keep those positions all filled.
Safe to say previous issues at the center have been resolved to a degree?
I think things are running very smoothly now. We've had some challenges, obviously, through this COVID discussion, but everybody seems to be working well together, and all the counties and all the subsidiary counties that send children there, I think, are largely satisfied with the service that they're being provided. So,
What does the county pay poll workers?
We actually upped it a little bit. Yeah, we upped it.
I think it was close to about $200 for the day.
Is that different from county to county, or?
Yes.
There is a maximum, which I think is about 200. Yeah.
So you couldn't, when you're talking about, in November you're going to need more help, you couldn't raise that as an incentive. 200's the...
We'll have to look at the guidelines that the election code allows us, but we will make sure that everybody's fairly compensated for the hard work that they do. This last election was particularly a challenge, I think, because of the COVID discussion. But as we move into November, we may be having that conversation over again with spades. So, it's really hard to tell where we go from here.
The maximum for previous elections was about 170. A judge of elections, depending on turnout, could get about 170, and we added an additional $80 out of the federal grant that we received for elections. So we took that up about $80, again, to thank people, but also incentivize them, and people really came through. We added dozens and dozens of additional poll workers to assist us, so it'll be an ongoing conversation.
I don't know what happened. The resolution, or wasn't a resolution or whatever, was that last week's rental housing assistance, or is that something different?
Yes.
Is the program itself still, is the money still
Oh,
there?
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes we need, like we did today, we need a resolution to adopt or to run with the contract. It was just something that we didn't need and approved just as a matter of caution and out of abundance of caution, but in actuality, we did not need it at the end of the day.
With the program and the funding?
Absolutely. Yep, they applied for it, and hopefully June 8th, they'll start to be able to accept applications. We have not yet heard back from the federal government if we've been awarded it, but we will know in the next few days.
Somewhere along, oh, by the way, have you made decisions on the 14-some million coming to the county you were talking about last week in terms of priorities for whether small business or whatever? Has any decisions been made there, or is that part of COVID coordinator talk?
Correct. So out of the 4 town hall meetings that we had virtually, we did discuss a little bit about what amounts could be, but when we realized that the application did not need to have specific amounts dedicated to each category, we moved away from that, focused on just getting it through. But we do have about 7 to 10 broad categories where we can spend it. But the big ones are probably going to be the business assistance, assistance to municipalities, PPE, and again, offsetting county response. But there's minor ones in terms of assistance with the county fair, broadband, behavioral health. So again, when we start to have more dialogue with entities in the county, we're really going to find out how much we can spend and utilize.
That's all I have, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we do have a question from Marley, and so we're going to welcome her into the conversation. Marley, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, the floor is yours.
So I just wanted to ask for an update on the Joint Mental Health Task Force and if it's on schedule with its work. I know there was talk of it being published in July. I just wanted an update on that.
Okay, yeah, Mark.
The Mental Health Task Force is meeting, and I believe that we are expected, the Board of Commissioners and the Borough Council will be receiving an update report from the Mental Health Task Force leadership from the Chair, Patricia Best, here in the next couple of weeks. I know that they were delayed somewhat because of the COVID-19 situation, and so we probably will not be getting a final report in July, but there will be an update with a time frame for the remainder of the project. But they are working and meeting, and I believe subgroups have different tasks that they're undertaking right now. So more to come on that.
Any other questions, Marley?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, sure, thank you. Okay, seeing no further questions, we'd look then for a motion to adjourn at 11:13.
Motion to adjourn at 11:13.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you, everybody. Have a great
Thanks.
day.